Welcome to Conversations with Chuck Hester, a weekly podcast designed to entertain, inform, and get you more information about the people who you need to know. I'm Chuck Hester, and I am your host today. Today's broadcast is featuring my guest, Bob Burg, co-author of the international bestseller, The Go-Giver, and a much sought-after speaker at sales and leadership conferences. Bob is committed to inspiring the entrepreneurial spirit in all of us. He shows that companies both large and small that conduct their business the Go-Giver way are not only much greater value to their customers, they're also significantly more functional and profitable as well. Welcome, Bob Burg.
Hey, Chuck, it's so great to be with you.
Indeed, it's great to have you here, my friend. We were talking before we went on the air. I'm an evangelist. There's no doubt about it. I've loved the book that I got originally when we got a chance to meet, and I'm a YouTube follower and walk through your referral videos. So just have a really great time with that. Now, for those of my listeners, and I actually do podcasts on Anchor as well, so it's going to be an audio podcast as well. But for those who are tuning in right now, and also those that are going to be on the replays, explain the Go-Giver and the really the principles behind it.
Sure. Yeah, and it's a business parable. It's part of a series of 4 books. 3 of them are parables, co-authored with John David Mann, who's a fantastic author and storyteller. I'm much more of a how-to kind of step-by-step 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of guy. So John is really the driving force in terms of the writer, and the premise is really nothing more than understanding that shifting your focus, and this is really the key, shifting your focus from getting to giving. And when we say giving in this context, we simply mean constantly and consistently providing immense value to others. Understanding that doing this is not only a more fulfilling way of doing business, it's actually the most financially profitable way as well. And not for some way out there kind of woo-woo, magical, mystical type of reason, but really it makes logical, rational sense. When you're that person, Chuck, as I know you are, who can take your focus off yourself and instead place it on solving other people's problems and challenges, finding out, discovering what they want, need, desire, and helping them to get it, to accomplish their goals, to help bring them closer to happiness. When that's your focus, people feel good about you. People want to get to know you. They like you. They trust you. They want to be part of your life, part of your business. Certainly, they want to be your personal walking ambassador, if you will. So again, it's very much based on to the degree that you really focus on bringing value to others, that's the degree that you yourself are going to be successful. And as you mentioned, there are five laws or principles behind this. These are the laws of value, compensation, influence, authenticity, and receptivity.
Yeah, and you mentioned it, Bob, because it's a phrase that I use on a regular basis, working with my clients as well on how to use LinkedIn correctly to be able to do that. And that is the phrase know, like, and trust.
Yeah.
And I use it, quite frankly, when somebody sends me a generic invitation, and I will say to them, I need to know, like, and trust you before I can connect with you. So that's kind of the bottom line on that. So can you talk a little bit about that and that principle?
Sure. And so the beginning part of it is actually very important, and that is all things being equal, or we could say all things being close enough to equal, right? People will do business with and refer business to those people they know, like, and trust. And that beginning part's important, because if things are not equal, or at least close enough to equal, then the know, like, and trust, that's not going to be the determining factor. Okay. Because let's say, for example, the product doesn't measure up or the service doesn't measure up. Well, they can know, like, and trust you, but you're not going to get the business probably. Or for example, let's say it's a product where there's a delivery time that they need in 10 days and you can't get it before 30 days. Well, they know, like, and trust you, but they're not going to, if they need that in 10 days, that's not going to. So it's very important, I think, to always, to make that distinction, that we understand that the product service has to be able to be what it's needed to be. It needs to, the deliverables need to be there, and so forth. Now, that aside, though, all things being equal or close enough to it, then indeed it will be a matter of the relationship, and earning that person's know, like, and trust is the difference maker.
Yeah, and I think you're finding it even more when, in what I call the COVID blessings to a certain extent. I mean, we're all virtual these days, and we're on LinkedIn and other social media on a regular basis. So we're having to really, develop those relationships that we could not do by having coffee, drinks, golf, you name it, and being able to meet at conferences like you and I have done in the past to be able to work that through. So incredibly important for that. So I'm interested too. In show notes, I've got, so being a go-giver is absolutely congruent with and even honors human nature. So talk to me about that a little bit.
Well, Chuck, I often, in those days of old, when I used to speak at actual, physical conferences in person, and I'd have a whole bunch of salespeople in an audience, I would generally begin by saying that, I'd actually ask them, how many of you agree with the following statement? Nobody's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet. Right. And, everyone would put up their hands. We'd all laugh because we know that's true. Right. They're not going to buy from you because you need the money. They're not going to buy from you because you would like them to. And they're not even going to buy from you because you're a really nice human being. They're going to buy from you because they believe they'll be better off by doing so than by not doing so. And in the basically free market economy in which we operate, and when I say free market, I simply mean no one is forced to do business with anyone else. The only reason they're going to buy is for their reasons. And you know what? That's the only reason anyone should buy from you or from me or from anyone else. That's human. That's understanding human nature. And that's good, though, because what it means is that entrepreneur or salesperson who absolutely is laser focused on discovering what that other person is looking to accomplish and fulfilling that and being able to communicate that, that's the person who is going to receive the business.
And you mentioned entrepreneurs, Bob. Let's talk about that some. So, I'm understanding that you believe that you don't have to be an entrepreneur to be entrepreneurial. Interesting phrase. I'd love to have you unpack that a little bit, if you would.
Sure. Well, we think of the entrepreneur as a business owner and someone who has invested their own money or theirs in someone else's or, what have you. But basically, they are the business owner and they're putting the sweat equity into it. And they know that when it comes right down to it, if their business is going to survive, they need to please a whole lot of people. Okay. And they need to focus on bringing immense value to the lives of many others. That's how they're going to grow their business. Now, what about when you're not the entrepreneur? What about that person who is an employee in another person's company or organization? Well, you know what? It's basically the same thing. Just as no one's going to buy from you because you have a quota to meet, no one's going to hire you and keep you and continue paying you a weekly or monthly, whatever salary because you have a mortgage payment. It's going to be because they believe that you bring enough value to the organization to warrant it. Now, the difference might be, so you're not entrepreneurial in terms of owning the business, but you are intrapreneurial. You are an entrepreneur within another person's organization. Now, it might be that your customer or client is not the end user, but it might be your supervisor, or it might be your coworkers, or it might be those people on your team that you're leading. It's obviously the person who owns the company. It's everyone. It's that person in that next silo who usually is not agreeable to helping others, but because of the way you're able to work with that person, you're able to get results and needed information. Or it might be that end user. I don't know. But it simply means that you need to find ways to bring immense value to those to whom you are responsible for doing so.
Very interesting. And within your parable, if you will, and I can't tell you, Bob, how many times I've reread this. With it, a lot of it has to do with mentorship. and finding, the main character ends up with a mentor, not purposely, more because, hey, you know what, he's killing quota and I'm not, and I want to know why. That's kind of the bottom line on that. So talk to me about mentorship, and I know for a fact that you've got, as my show notes say, a golden nugget of advice from a drive-by mentor. Totally shifted your perspective and played a big role in your success. So tell us that story, man.
Yeah. So those are two different things. One, I think mentorship is very important. If you can find someone who, has been there and done that and wants to work with you and can, hey, yeah, I mean, a great mentor can cut your learning curve time by 5 years, 10 years, right. And sometimes it's one mentor, but other times it's a series of mentors that, you're able to relate to and relate with. I think when finding a mentor, I think a lot of times people try to rush it, and they'll just ask someone who they admire and respect, will you be my mentor? And yeah, I think when asking that way, it doesn't come across in a way you might like it to, because it comes across as maybe entitled, or it comes across in a way that you're just looking to take someone's time. If you want this person to be your mentor, the chances are so do others. And so just coming right out and asking like that is not distinguishing yourself in a way that I think makes you attractive to that person wanting to really help you. But I think you could go to anyone who you admire and say something like, "Hey, I know you're very busy. If this is not something that you have the time to do, or that you even want to do, I totally understand. I'm wondering if I might ask you one or two very specific questions." And typically, not all, but most people will say, "Sure, go right ahead," because what you've done is you've really framed it in such a way that you have distinguished yourself. You First of all, you gave them the out or back door to let them know that this is not something that they should feel obligated to do. You're not expecting that they would, that they'd feel obligated. You're giving them that out. You're also um, you're letting them know that you are not going to waste their time. You're not asking to pick their brain, right? Or you're not one or two very specific way, and that says to them, this is a serious person. This is a person who has an agenda. And when I say agenda in this context, I mean that in a good way, in a
In
positive
a
way.
positive way, yeah, absolutely.
You know what you want to ask. You're not going to wait, right? And so, uh, and so when they invite you to do that, then you make sure you research that person thoroughly, so you don't ask something that you could have found out, through researching. But that aside, you want to ask your questions. Don't take up too much of their time. Totally respect their time. Thank them profusely. Let them know that you do plan to put this into action. And I would, that very day, I would write a handwritten, personalized thank you note, just short and sweet, thanking them for taking time out of their busy schedule. Your wisdom was priceless. I look forward to applying it right away. And if it's okay, I'll circle back and let you know how things are going. Boom. And you send that out. I would also suggest doing something like, you can find out, through researching them, what their favorite charitable cause is. Okay, maybe it's their local animal shelter, and so you make it doesn't have to be big, but just even a small donation to their local animal shelter in their name, and that will get back to them. And you're not doing that to kiss up or anything, but just to, again, let them know you respect the process, you appreciate them, and you want to honor them, right? And then, so again, a few weeks, a month, a couple, whatever it is, however, whether you email or call them or whatever, to kind of let them know what's happening, and you maybe have another question or two. And if an ongoing mentor protege relationship is supposed to develop in time, it will. If not, it won't. You can prefer that it happens, but I'd say don't be attached to having to have that happen. It might be a series of people that you talk to. Now, you asked about the drive-by mentor,
Yep.
I think, and that was an interesting story. I'd been in sales for a couple of years, and I had done pretty well, but I was with another company, and I was in a slump, and it wasn't a lot of fun. And there was this guy at the company. He was an older guy who he didn't say much, but one of these people I think we've all met before, that whenever he did say something, it was generally pretty profound, right? And I think he saw me as Joe, who of course I would write about 20 years later.
Hmm.
And as that guy, that salesperson who was young and up and coming, aggressive, ambitious, worked hard, but really was frustrated that he was not where he needed to be, and was, and obviously, like I said, I was in a slump and I was panicking, and I think he could see that. And so he said to me, he said, "Burg, can I give you some advice?" And he was a last name kind of guy. He said, "Burg, can I give you some advice?" I said, "Yeah, please do." And he said, um, "You know, if you want to make a lot of money in sales," he said, "don't have making money as your target. Your target," he said, "is serving others. Now,
Hmm.
when you get the target, you'll get a reward. And that reward will come in the form of money. And you can do with that money whatever you choose. But never forget," he said, "the money is simply the reward for hitting the target. It ain't the target itself. Your
Wow.
target is serving others." Now, that's what really got me to see that my focus was in the wrong place. It was on me. And great salesmanship is never about the salesperson. Great salesmanship is never about the product or service, as important as those are. Great salesmanship is about the other person. It's about how you're able to touch another person's life through your product, service, and just being in it, and the additional value you bring to the table. But let me just explain really quickly the drive-by mentor part. This was this is a term that within in a conversation with one of my current mentors. Her name is Dondi Scumaci, who's a magnificent human being and leader and teacher of such. Um, I think it was Dondi who came up with the name of this, because usually in our conversations that's what happens, and I just agree with it. And so the term drive-by mentor simply means a person who you may not even know, may have never met, or may have just known in the hallways, like the gentleman I was talking about, who just happens to come along at the exact right time and place that you happen to both need that advice and are open to it. And you may never see that person again, or you may see them again but never even have a significant conversation with them again. But wow, that the advice they gave you right there was just worth its weight in gold. And that's what we call a drive-by mentor.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm seeing that, quite frankly. I mean, I know for a fact, lack of a better way to put this, you are a drive-by mentor to hundreds of people and thousands of people, and quite frankly, with my content, I get that comments every once in a while. Hey, I'm following your content, and it made a difference as far as what I was doing right now, and that's what it looks like. And that's the encouragement I would give folks of, you as speakers, we've worked through this. We always talk about we want 5,000 people in the audience or whatever it may be. I'm always the person, and you are as well, I know, and Jay Bear, who's coming up next week. If I affect one person in the audience, then I made my speaking fee. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think what it is we need to lose the attachment to how many and whether that person even takes our advice. Okay. Now, again, quantity is also great. Okay. I would say focus on the quality, but quantity is also very important. But but the key is we have we generally don't have control necessarily over how many there are, and or how many will be receptive to the message. So all we can do is our best to reach out with the information that seems to make sense to, based hopefully on knowledge and understanding of the situation. And then the person who is supposed to be affected by it is.
Yeah, and I run into that. I mean, I've had folks now with me back out as a consultant who I've reconnected with. They said, you know what? When 5 years ago, when I talked to you about X, Y, and Z, it made a difference as far as where I was going to go. And I know that happens for you, Bob, as well. As far as let's circle back around a little bit on mentors, because that's something that and we won't get specific into that till after this segment. But the Pay It Forward Tuesdays is all about mentoring and helping folks learn about their businesses doing whatever. How important is it to be not only have a mentor, but is there value, and I'm sure there is, in being a mentor? And what does that look like for you?
Oh, I really think there is. I think
Softball pitch there, Bob.
Pardon?
I said that was a softball pitch if there ever was one.
Yeah, it was. It's also very important, I think, because it really is so important in that we grow. And I think you've seen that, when you give any kind of talk or presentation, how much you learn from the audience and so forth. And I feel the same way. And you and I were both a member of a speakers group, an online speakers group, where so many of them said the same thing. And I think as a mentor, we learn so much from those one-on-one conversations and situations. And, we grow because we see things through their eyes. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm a big believer in that, even if it's not a matter of, whether you do it because you just really want to help someone or for how you'll grow. I don't think it's an either or. I think it's both.
Yeah. And I think the characteristics that people need to understand as well, from both I'm looking for a mentor and I want to be a mentor. You embody this, and I know, shoot, the next 6 episodes are folks that embody this. But I don't care how big you are, quote unquote. You've got it's 900,000 plus sales on your books and whatever. I have never had an issue with reaching out to you and having a conversation. Seth Godin's the same way. Jay Baer's the same way. And I talk to folks, especially the lack of a better way to put this, the youngsters, and say, my axiom is, if you don't ask the question, the only answer you're going to get is no. If you ask that person, and the way you do that is more important than anything else, as far as, I know you're busy. This is what it looks like, but can you spend a few minutes with me? As opposed to some that come in and say, I need a job, and people, who can you help me with? Those type of things. That's what it looks like. And a side note, by the way, too, Bob, because I know you know him very well as well. Phil Jones is probably one of the best authors in the world in regards to how to have that conversation and what not to say, those type of things. So, it embodies what goes on for that. So,
and, anyone who wants to know what to say, how to say it, and so forth, should get Phil's books. Right? Yeah. He's a genius. And you talk about a guy who really is just a terrific human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, honestly, you mentioned the speakers group that we were a member of, and it was ironically on Facebook. But we were a part. I can name hundreds of people within that group that are basically the same way. They're accessible. They're good human beings. Yeah. They are encouraged by your successes and helping you move forward, which is a big part of my Pay It Forward philosophy as well. So that's really makes a big difference as far as that goes. So. Yeah, I've got folks in the comments. I apologize, but they're coming in. I just ordered the book. I can't wait to read it. Outstanding conversation. I'm off to get Bob Burg's book. So, and this is probably a good place for this, Bob, as well, to talk to us about. We always like to talk about this. You have several channels that folks can take advantage of the Go Giver lifestyle and what goes on. And I mentioned on top of the hour, the YouTube channel that you have, which is amazing. But talk to me about, I know that it's not just the Go Giver book, but it's a series of books, plus there's YouTubes and a wide variety. So tell the audience how they can find more Bob Burg. I mean, who would not want more Bob Burg in their life?
Plenty of people would. But thank you. Also, by the way, and just to acknowledge the kind comments, I can't see the comments, so I don't want anybody to think I'm not acknowledging you. I can't see them. So
yeah, no problem.
But thank you. My probably best place to reach me is my website, which is burg.com. And if people scroll down the page, they'll see a whole bunch of resources that they can go to, including the books where they can click on it and it will take them to a page where they can get chapter 1 or an excerpt where they can see if they like where it's headed, and then they can always click through. But yeah, the website's the best place.
Great. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. And this is probably a good place to mention too. There will be a replay on my YouTube channel, Facebook, and also audio on Anchor FM. So get a chance to take a look at that. For those in my audience who are regular members of my audience, they know that I promote the heck out of what we've got going on, mainly because I'm having a ball doing this. These conversations are pretty dang awesome as far as that goes. Bob, any advice for, folks who are starting out in sales, and is there certain things they need to be doing besides just finding a mentor, or looking at, and also obviously buying your book and looking at your website, but any particular advice?
Well, I mean, I think it really begins with learning, learning and applying. And I always say, if there's a success formula, if formula is even the right word for it, but first, define exactly as what you desire to accomplish. So if you're in sales, if you're working with a certain company, or deciding to, or what have you, what is that desire? What is it that you're looking to do? Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich. All great accomplishment begins with desire, and I think it's important. And if you don't have the specific desire right now, don't let that stop you. Sometimes you find it as you go along, but generally you have an idea of what you're looking to accomplish. And if you're just new in sales, you have an idea what you're looking to accomplish. So it begins with desire, and then step one is to seek out and find the information or follow the system. And I define a system as simply the process of predictably achieving a goal based on a logical and specific set of how-to principles. The key being predictability. If it's been proven that by doing A, you'll get the desired result of B. So all you need to do is A and continue to do A and continue, and you'll get the desired result of B. So find the books, the audios, the videos that are out there that you can tap into. You mentioned Phil Jones earlier. Phil's book, what was Exactly What to Say, I think was
Yes.
and he's got a couple of them out now. They're brilliant. Jay's books are fantastic. People like Anthony Iannarino and Jeb Blunt and Mike Weinberg and Scott Hunter and Andrea Waltz and Richard Fenton and Connie. Thinking of oh goodness gracious, I'm thinking of the name that I'm not coming up with right now, and I apologize. But there's so many great books out there. Okay, so learn them, study them and read them and apply the information. That's the second one. Okay, so you get desire, which is where it begins. Then you've got seek out and find the information. Two is Meredith Elliott Powell, I was thinking of, who also has some wonderful sales information. Two is apply the information. And so that is, don't wait till you think you're perfect to begin applying it. All right. Once you know enough to start, right. And you're going to get better as you do it. Three is to be persistent, outlast the no's. One thing that I believe knocks more potentially great salespeople out of the sales profession, Chuck, is not the no's, not the amount of no's they get when they start. It's that they think they're the only ones getting those no's, right? And they see people who've attained certain levels of success, and they just kind of assume, oh yeah, well, for them it was easy. They just went out there and people start. Not at all, not at all. A great book to pick up. Great book. I wish it was around when I started in sales. But this is another business parable. It's by, and I had mentioned her, Andrea Waltz and her husband, Richard Fenton. They're partners. They're a team. They wrote a great parable called Go for No. And they totally reframe how to work with no's. And their premise is yes is the destination. No is how you get there. And you'll never look at a no in the same way. By the way, that doesn't mean no's don't still stink. Of course, nobody likes to get a no, and that's not the point. No, it's actually very realistic how they do it, how they reframe it. But it's a book I suggest everyone get. So apply the information. Third, be persistent, outlast the no's. And then the last part, okay, because it started with desire. The last part is belief. And that is belief in what you're doing,
Mm.
belief in yourself. And a lot of times this is a very unconscious, type of situation where if we don't have that belief, if there's something that internally or unconsciously we don't believe in ourselves or don't feel worthy or what have you, we're going to sabotage our success. So I believe it's important to study prosperity. And that's where there are people like Randy Gage, fantastic in terms of prosperity, where there's people like David Nagel and Ellen Rogan out of Chicago and Sharon Lecter and so many wonderful, wonderful teachers of prosperity. And it's always on an unconscious level. A great book written in 1960 by Maxwell Maltz called Psycho-Cybernetics, one of the best I've ever seen at really understanding ourselves and how our beliefs really end up driving our importance and how to reframe those beliefs and rework them so that they're working for us. So I guess the long answer to your question, advice for new salespeople, is get that information and take it in. Don't be intimidated by how much it is. Do one thing at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to put you back on full screen for a second, Bob, because you and I talked about this, but that is actually a real bookshelf behind you. And those are
Oh,
books.
one of
Yeah, yeah.
few.
And I can totally relate to that. If I had the room, that would absolutely be where I would be. Bob, I can't tell you how much I've enjoyed having this conversation with you. And, honestly, it's like drinking a good martini. You want another one. There's no doubt about that.
Thank
So
you.
if you have not, and there's several folks, and I know you can't see the comments, but several folks who have mentioned it. If you have not discovered Bob Burg, I'm hoping that this broadcast helps you do that. Please follow him as best you can, where you can. There's some really cool resources out there, and I would strongly suggest the Go Giver as a good place to start as far as the sales books go. Bob Burg, this has been a pleasure. I greatly appreciate you, my friend. I appreciate your friendship over the years, and and being willing to, and story out of school to a certain extent. When I was putting Conversations with Chuck Hester together about a month or two ago, I old-fashioned term, but I grabbed my Rolodex. You were the first one that I asked to be on because I knew this was going to be an amazing conversation, and we've had amazing conversations all the way along. So I greatly appreciate your time, my friend, and I want to wish you happy holidays and continued success for sure.
Same to you. It's my pleasure and my honor, Chuck. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Have a good week. So that is Bob Burg, and that's one of my favorite people and one of my mentors, quite frankly, as far as that goes. So we're going to spend a couple of more minutes here now because I wanted to make sure that we got some time with Bob all the way through. But I want to talk about my Pay It Forward minutes, and that is something that I really enjoy doing. As most of you know, it's my way of highlighting cool things in the Pay It Forward movement. I will talk specifically now about the Pay It Forward Tuesdays initiative, which is going on. And a short story here. There are 5 Tuesdays in December. We have one more Tuesday left next week, but Giving Tuesday is the first one. Then there's an opportunity for 4 additional Tuesdays where you could give, or in our case, pay it forward. And our case meaning, and I believe that one of our guys is on the call right now, but Adam Sinkus, Jennifer Radke, Bob Shears, Laura Moreira, and myself, got together and we decided we were going to find either charitable organizations, startups, entrepreneurs who needed some consulting and help in PR, marketing, LinkedIn, and business management, business coaching. It was an opportunity for us to do that. We have already chosen 3 different people. We have one more next week, and they are getting 2.5 hours of consulting from the folks. And our latest recipient, and as some of you may know, I have a heart for veterans. As you know, Dean Bunchu was on last week from the Bunker Labs. But our latest recipient is Jack Beavers. He's a military veteran who served our country through some challenging times. He left the military, went full force into sales and then into project management. He's driven by honor, integrity, and true character. And most importantly, he believes in the pay it forward mentality. Now he wants to give back to the community as a Christian motivational speaker. And so our mentors are coming alongside him, and he's excited to learn how to network and to give back to the community despite all the challenges that he has faced. And as I mentioned, we have one more recipient who we are ready to announce next Tuesday after Christmas, and that will be announced on Tuesday, December 29th. Plus, we've also decided, and this is very exciting for us, and a side note too, look up Adam Sinkus on LinkedIn, and you can find his podcast. We were on podcast last night talking about the Pay It Forward initiative, so you can take a look at that. And one of the things that we mentioned is that we will continue the Pay It Forward initiative and the Pay It Forward Tuesdays into 2021. We will select a recipient on the third Thursday of each month in 2021. So if you have somebody who you think could be a good nominee, get in touch with me through LinkedIn. And also, are you a company or organization that provides products and services to small businesses, entrepreneurs, and 501c3s? You can participate in Pay It Forward Tuesdays in 2021 because we are looking for sponsors that can provide services and products in kind for our 2021 recipients. We're calling it the Pay It Forward Perks. It's a great way to pay it forward while building brand equity in your community, which you folks know I'm a big proponent of, if you will. So contact me for more details and information. And I want to take 2 seconds here too to thank our sponsor, Vidyard, which is the video platform for business. You can go to vidyard.com/free and sign up for a free trial and check out Vidyard. I use it on a regular basis on my status updates on LinkedIn. And then also I want to mention to you as well that you can, as I mentioned earlier, we will have replays of this conversation, and the Bob Burg interview is going to be available on my YouTube channel, Facebook, as well as replay on LinkedIn. Now, next week, as we mentioned earlier when I was talking to Bob, my guest on Wednesday, December 30th is Jay Baer. He's the co-author of Talk Triggers, the complete guide to creating customers with word of mouth, and the founder of Convince and Convert Consulting, a digital marketing and customer experience advisory firm that helps the world's most iconic brands, including 3M, Cisco, Nike, Hilton, and the United Nations. And they helps them gain and keep more customers. So if you will, please feel free to share this podcast with your friends and connections. The replays are going to be available. And if you are into audio as opposed to video, you can find me at Anchor FM. Take a look at that. And my holiday gift to you, if you're interested in learning how you can improve your marketing or LinkedIn presence, then connect with me on LinkedIn and mention this podcast for a free 15-minute discovery call. So that's it for this week. Until next time, this is Chuck Hester wishing you Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays and reminding you to stay well, stay connected, and always pay it forward.